Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for making the time to join us today. I've got several folks who are standing behind me who I'm going to shout out in my remarks, so bear with me as I talk about them. I want to just thank everybody for being here today. There is so much great news that is going on around transit these days that I'm happy that you all are back. So thank you for being here yesterday and also for being here today. Yesterday, we were here to talk about the filing of the referendum ordinance, and that's going to allow Davidson County voters to determine their transportation future for generations to come. And today, I want to talk with you about how Let's Move Nashville, Metro's transportation solution, is going to make a positive impact on our city, not just when that first train or bus runs down Gallatin Pike, but from that very first day that we break ground. Now, this transit plan is dedicated to the principle that Nashville's growth should work for Nashville, and that this growth cannot leave anybody behind. This starts by making sure that we're investing in the plan, we're investing in our city in the greatest extent possible, and that Nashvillians in every neighborhood are going to have access to the opportunities that are going to be created by building a new transportation network. In filing this ordinance with the Metro Council, we've included a transit improvement plan book, or as we're going to refer to it, the TIP. It's going to give a lot greater detail on our comprehensive transit proposal, from how many people will live and work along each one of these bus and light rail corridors, to the projected travel times of the trips, to the details on how we plan to pay for everything. The questions I know that a lot of you have been asking. And the TIP also has a lot to say about how the plan will help pay for itself. Local consultants with Wilmot Incorporated have undertaken an extensive analysis to better understand the social and economic impacts that a $5.4 billion transit infrastructure investment and long-term operations and maintenance are going to have on our community. So Wilmot, we're hoping to bring out some of the nation's most significant transit programs to our city, which is a big job, but it's also a really huge opportunity for Nashville. So first, let's talk about jobs, because that's the thing that people like to talk about. Nashville currently has the lowest unemployment rate of the top 50 metro areas in the United States. Now, business is booming because we've got a lot of great talent, we've got a lot of great workers, and we've got a lot of folks here in Nashville, entrepreneurs who are succeeding and thriving. But not all of those jobs are really good jobs. Some pay minimum wage and can't sustain an individual, let alone a family in today's world, and we know that that's a problem, especially with housing prices. So we need better job opportunities for our residents. Our transit improvement program will generate nearly 54,000 of what is known as job years during the construction phase of Let's Move Nashville, which will end in 2032. Now, what does that mean? That's about 45,000 from the capital projects and 9,000 from operations and maintenance. That means that on average, 3,850 jobs will be created or maintained each year as a result of our transit investment. Some of those jobs are going to last for many years. Others could just be for a year or two, like the construction jobs. But more than 2,400 of those jobs every year will be directly related to designing, building, maintaining, and operating the transit system over the next 15 years, with the rest being generated through indirect spending related to our transit investment. And these are going to be good paying jobs, providing new opportunities for learning skills and getting ahead. So maybe we can call this plan Let's Work Nashville. Because as I've said before, if I could go out tomorrow and put a shovel in the ground down Gallatin Road, I would, because we need to get this going as quickly as possible. But one of the benefits of long-range infrastructure investment like this is that we actually have the opportunity to plan ahead for the maximum benefits for our community. Now, we have a pretty good idea of where those jobs are going to need to be filled at each step along the way. This long-range visibility gives us the chance to create job training programs, which are key, and workforce pipeline plans to make sure that Nashvillians who are interested in working as part of this transit plan have a chance to get trained and are ready with the necessary skills when the jobs need to be filled, which is critical. No, we cannot mandate that all of these jobs go to Davidson County residents, but we absolutely are committed to helping to train and recruit workers from Nashville, especially in our economically disadvantaged residents, in order to make sure that they have better job opportunities. We've been working very closely with the Nashville Career Advancement Center. We've been working with organized labor and the construction industry to create the Nashville Construction Readiness Partnership, which will help all of our Davidson County workers train for those good-paying construction jobs. The Laborers International Union, represented here today by Ethan Link, co-chair of the Transit for Nashville Coalition, knows full well that good infrastructure investments mean great jobs for residents if it's done the right way. Overall, our transit investment will generate more than $3.6 billion in labor income that will go into the pockets of our workforce, and it's also going to increase our GDP by $4.76 billion during the construction phases of this program. Also joining me today is Reverend Dr. Judy Cummings, senior pastor of the New Covenant Christian Church, also a Transit for Nashville Coalition member. Dr. Cummings is also the chair of Moving Forward Routes, Networks, and Modes Task Force, and is a strong advocate for making sure that we have equity in our jobs and in our economic growth. The investments that we're going to make in transit infrastructure and operations are going to help us expand both our businesses and grow our businesses. We have to ensure that those investments, though, are equitable, and we have to make sure that they are represented with minority-owned and women-owned businesses so that they're able to participate in this project, because it's going to be a definition and a defining moment for Nashville for generations to come. Now, I'm committed to seeing that Metro makes a concerted and intentional effort to help those minority small businesses compete for this business that's going to be created in this environment. I believe that this bold and comprehensive transit system will help businesses and workers in other ways as well. It's going to generate economic revenue through increasing our customers while helping employees get to work faster and in a much more reliable and cost-effective way. And I'm also here today with Claire Crowell. Where's Claire? She's behind me. There she is. President of the nonprofit Independent Restaurant Association, known as Nashville Originals, and the Chief Operating Officer of A. Marshall Family Foods, as well as Craig Cliff, a Nashville Originals board member and also co-owner of Cabana, and a transit advocate who actually took the bus to get here this morning. Thank you. Claire and Craig know all too well the struggles that many of our restaurants, both old and new restaurants, are facing in finding employees due to the higher cost of transportation and housing and the lack of a great public transit option. A faster, more reliable transit system is going to help our workers move around town while also reducing their expenses for their gas. I'm also joined by Transit for Nashville Coalition co-chair Shelley Corrington of ARP, Tennessee. AARP, which represents so many of our seniors who are increasingly wanting to use transit to enjoy our great city. This plan is going to give our seniors more options to get their grandchildren, to go to museums, go to the doctor, to see a Predators game, to go to a Titans game without relying on a car, and that's also important. This analysis provided in the plan uses nationally defined standards that show that there will be between 35 and 40 million annual transit riders when this network is complete in 2032. 35 to 40 annual, that's million annual. And more than half of that is going to be on our rapid bus and our light rail lines. The average weekday ridership per mile of light rail track is forecasted to be 2,230 people by the year 2040, comparable to or better than some of our transit-oriented cities like Seattle or Denver. Someone asked me the other day, Joey, about recent declines in bus ridership in Davidson County. When we have increased traffic congestion, no city likes to see ridership fall on buses, but that's not the direction we want it to go. But it isn't because transit is failing us. It's because we're failing our transit network and haven't given it the tools that they need to succeed. The simple and honest answer is that our roads are at a saturation point, and we have 1 million more people who are coming to our area. People need more options to get around. When transit service is fast, when it's reliable, when it's convenient, when it's affordable, people will choose it. over driving. And today, it's hard to meet those promises because we don't have the system. Buses in Nashville are stuck in the same traffic as everybody else. But our numbers show that ridership has increased on bus routes where we have made investments in better, more frequent service. If we don't give real, reliable alternatives to driving, then we're going to fail every Nashvilleian. No, we need to design a better city for public transportation, one street, one pike, and one tunnel at a time, so that getting across town is as reliable as the sun rising, because we know it comes up most mornings. And that's the kind of future that we're planning in Let's Move Nashville. For example, once this plan is completed, you'll be able to travel from the corner of Harding and Nolensville to Sobro in 19 minutes. That's 19 minutes where other cars are sitting in rush hour traffic, because we're going to have built a system that prioritizes and encourages high capacity transit. Now, you may not think that you're going to ride our transit system, but I bet once you see it passing you on the road, you're going to take a harder look at your options, just as other cities have experienced. By 2040, 76% of Davidson County residents are going to live within half of a mile of a transit service, and nearly 90% of the jobs will be nearby those. That doesn't even take into account the inevitable reorientation of our growth. And as we are growing and changing that density along our transit corridors, which is only going to increase those numbers. And as part of our plan, we're going to make it easier than ever to walk to transit with more sidewalks, more crosswalks, and more transit centers. All of this information is in that transit improvement program book that I referenced at the beginning, and we're releasing that today. It also shows how we can invest in transportation independence in a smart, physically responsible way with sustainable funding mechanisms that will allow for the construction, maintenance, and operations of the entire transit system for the life of this network. That means that future Metro councils and future mayors are not going to have to decide between the investments in transit and in our other great services such as schools, police, and fire. With that, I want to thank a couple of folks. I want to thank MTA and Metro Public Works, along with their consultants, HDR, CDM Smith, and Wilmot Incorporated, who have worked so hard to put together this comprehensive plan and information for the consideration of the Metro Council, for consideration by the public, and also the auditors, and of course in the state of Tennessee. I hope it's going to inspire even greater confidence among our policymakers and, of course, among our voters in Nashville, that this is the right plan for Nashville. It's going to be our way that we're going to manage our growth, and we're going to continue to succeed for this year and the years to come and for future generations. Thank you so much.